Hi, this video is going to show you how to program the quadratic formula. I'm sure you look at this formula and you say, oh, I know that one. It's x equals opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. The only thing is when we write it, we usually write it with lowercase letters. We write it as a fraction and we write it with a big square root. Those are some things that we're going to change a little bit with our program. So here, let's get started. So to program it, we will click on the program button and we're doing a new one. Now I already did a practice one in here, so I have one in here. You may have ones in there or maybe you don't have any right there. But either way, you're gonna go over to new and we are going to create a new one. Hit enter. What's nice is when you name a program, it's already in what we call alpha or letter mode. So when you press any of the buttons down here that have a green letter above it, that will automatically show up. So I'm just going to call it QF for quadratic formula and hit enter. All right, the first thing I'm going to do in the program is make sure that it can handle imaginary numbers. And since everybody already knows what the I is, we should be okay if it shows it. So we're going to hit mode here at the top, scroll down until we see A plus BI. Yours might not be down as far as mine, but you go on A plus BI and you hit enter. Again, that just makes it so if we get an imaginary number answer with quadratic formula, it will show an answer instead of giving us an error. All right, so if we look at the formula, let me hold it up again. Okay, here we go. There are three things you need for that formula, and those are A, B, and C. So I'm going to have the calculator prompt or ask us for those things. To do that, you hit the program button, and we're going to scroll over to IO, which stands for input output, and we're going to have it prompt or ask us for A, B, and C. Prompt is number 2, and I'm going to prompt us for A, comma, which is above the 7, B, comma again, and C. Now, every time I wanted a letter at this point, I had to hit alpha because it wasn't automatically in letter mode. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is put the formulas in. Now, let me show you the formulas. Since we have to use capital letters, you'll notice I've replaced all the lowercase with capital, and we can't use a fraction. So I put the whole numerator in parentheses divided by the denominator in parentheses. You might be thinking, why are there two formulas? Well, we normally can use a plus or minus. However, the calculator cannot. So we put in the formula with the plus, which you see here, and then we put it in underneath with the minus here. So let's get started. So the numerator is in parentheses, and it's the opposite of b plus square root. Please note our square root sign is little, so a parenthesis comes up. Underneath the square root is b, and I use this button for squared, minus 4ac. I need to close the parenthesis for the square root and then close the parenthesis for the numerator. All over or divide by the denominator in parentheses, which is 2a. Now, when you write a formula, we want to store it into a variable. Now, I've already used A, B, and C, so I'm actually going to store it into E. You might think, why aren't you storing it into D? Well, I'm not storing it into D because I may find the discriminant, and I think that's a better letter for discriminant. So let's put in both formulas. So the other formula is obviously parenthesis, opposite of B, now this time minus square root of b squared minus 4ac. And again, close the parenthesis to the square root, close the parenthesis to the whole numerator, all over or divide by the denominator in parentheses 2a. And then this time I'm going to store it. Again, that's the button to the left of the one with the arrow. And I'm going to store it into F. Oops, I got out of there. I made a mistake. I'm not quite sure what button I hit by mistake, but that's okay that it happened because now I can show you what to do if you happen to jump out. I'm going to hit program, Oops, let me quit out of here. Nice clear screen. I'm going to hit program, and you'll see the QF program, which is right there. I need to go over and edit because I didn't finish it. I got out somehow. I'm not sure what I hit. I have my A plus BI. I have it asking me for my 3. And now I'm going to, I found the first formula, I stored it into E. Now I did the second formula, and I'm going to store it into F. F, I do alpha, and then F, then hit enter. Now I wanted to display my 2 answers, which are in E and F. So I will hit program, go over to IO, and choose number 3 for display. And I want it to show me both E, comma, and F. It's a quick 5-line program. So let's check to see if it works. So we're going to get out of there. I'm going to quit, which is above mode, and I'm going to run it. So I would hit program. I see QF there, and I'm going to execute it, which is already highlighted there at the top. So I will hit enter. All right, let's see. Let's say A was 1, B was 5, and C was 6. And we see my 2 answers. If I use the quadratic formula, are -2 and -3. Let's do another one. Let's do A is 1. Let's do one where B is 0 and C is 9. And this one comes out to be 3i or -3i. So imaginary numbers work too. So we're in great shape. I'd like to add something to the program. Let's do the discriminant, just so we have that in there in case we need it. So let's go to program, go over to edit, because I want to add something to it. So I'm going to scroll down to my last line here, and I'm going to have it calculate the discriminant. The discriminant is just the part underneath the square root. It is the b squared minus 4ac, and I'm going to store that into D, just because I think that makes sense. It starts with it. Now, I could just display D, but it would be kind of nice to say what I am displaying. So I'm going to hit program, go over to output, and choose display. I'm actually going to display a word. If I ever want to display a word, now that's a lot of letters, I'm going to hit second alpha to lock it into alpha mode. And the quote above the plus, if I want to do a word, I have to put it in quotes. So discriminant, discriminant. If I want a space, that's above the 0. Now, if I want an equal sign, that's actually under test, which is in blue above the math button. So I'll hit second test, and I can get the equals. Now, that means I'm locked out of alpha mode, so letter mode. So just to check, I'm going to hit alpha so I can get the end quote. So it's going to actually print discriminant equals before it displays my next line, which I'm going to display D, which is where my discriminant is being stored. And now let's try this one. So I'm going to quit out of there, go to program, execute. Let's see how it does. It's going to ask me for A. Let's try 1. B was 5, and C was 6. And my 2 solutions were -2, -3, which makes sense because my discriminant was 1, which is a positive number. Anytime you have a positive answer, you should have 2. Let's do another one. Let's say A is 1, B is 4, and maybe C is 4 too. You'll notice that it might have printed twice, but I really only have 1 answer, and we have 1 answer when the discriminant equals 0. Let's do one more. How about if I do 1, 0, and 9? And you'll see my 2 answers were 3i and -3i, and that makes sense because my discriminant was -36. Thanks for watching.